Hello everyone, Neve here, and we are here for part two of all the decks that I got in 2025. So part one was all of the tarot decks, and now we are on part two, which is all of the oracle decks. So basically decks that are not tarot. So I am flipping to the page of my oracle decks. So these were all the new decks that I brought in. These were all the tarot decks, and here's all the oracle decks. So we're going to go through that right now. So before I get started though, I just want to say we had a little bit of an issue. We're in February right now, and the end of January and February tends to be like the coldest time in my region, and my ritual room here is not insulated. It is basically a covered porch. So I do run a space heater during the winter time to warm up the space before I come in here, and I have that running for several hours before I even come in here because it does get so cold in this room. There are times like late January and February where a lot of times it is just completely unusable in this space. It is completely unusable. And we just went through a cold spell, and it's finally warm enough that I can come back in here, and I've had my space heater going for several hours before I even came out here. So I'm looking forward to filming this. However, I had all of these oracle decks sitting next to my table here, just prepared and ready for when I do this video. And I've just had them there for probably 3 weeks now. And because the cold snap happened, I couldn't come in here. It was too cold. We had temperatures below zero for quite some time, and that's Fahrenheit. I'm in New England. So it was just, the space was unusable. Like, even stepping into this room was just, it was too much. So they've kind of just been sitting there. And, but unfortunately my ritual room is also it's in between the door that goes outside to our balcony and our balcony. So you have to go through my ritual room to get to the balcony. And it's not ideal, but it is how it's set up. And my husband went out to the balcony to shovel snow probably a week ago or so. And when he came back, and he was intentionally trying to avoid all the tarot decks I had around on the ground and stuff. I have a whole bunch, a pile of them, like on a carpet. And then I had the ones that were next to the table, the oracle decks here. And he walked by, and I guess some snow had come off of his boots and was on the ground. And over time, that traveled to where I had all the oracle decks, and then they froze over. So like there was the oracle decks were covered in ice, like completely iced over. Like, I had to pop them off the ground and bring them up, and they were just completely iced over. Oh my God. So that was kind of devastating, because I was like, what got destroyed? Like, what's going on? And thankfully some of my nicer ones I actually had pulled out, and because I'm perhaps making some bags for some of them. Some of them were in really nice, like they were in tins, so they were completely safe. None of the cards got destroyed. So I'll say that right off the bat. None of my cards got destroyed. Every deck is just totally fine. But there are a couple of boxes that definitely took the brunt of it and are kind of destroyed a little bit, or at least got a little bit but none of the cards, like all the cards are fine. So, yes. Just wanted to, I know that was kind of a long little story there that was like, oh my God, what happened to your oracle cards? But all the oracle cards are fine. A couple of the boxes are not, a couple of the boxes are pretty bad. I'm going to have to like get rid of the boxes. And then a couple of them have some minor damage to them. So Anyway, we are here. We're going to look through the cards. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I have 11 Oracle decks that I got in 2025. Yeah. All right. So we'll start off with I almost dropped it. The wild unknown archetypes. Yes, wild unknown archetypes. I almost called it the animal spirit, but this is the archetypes. And this is the bag that I made for it. So I do have bags for two of these. I have bags for two of these. And this is one of the bags. And this matches all of the other wild unknown decks that I have. So as an example, here is the Wild Unknown Tarot, and I also have one that's just like this, except it's like a cheetah on it that's facing the other way, but it's also that same style where it's rainbow and black, and it's the exact same fabric, but that one is actually in my bedroom because I'm using it with my nightly reader this week, but it looks just like this, except it's a cheetah on here and facing the other way. So yeah, but all of these wild unknown decks I'm trying to use a lot of the same fabric for, so the bag, whenever I get the alchemy deck, I'll probably have it looking pretty similar to this. I think there's a lion that's in this style that I was thinking about using for that one. But yeah, it'll basically look a lot like this one. So let me pull out the archetypes deck here. Yeah, the archetypes. So this is a round deck, and this was it was on my list, and then one of the viewers contacted me and wanted to know if I was interested in getting it off of them, and I was like, yeah, of course. And I got obviously the full-sized one, and I kind of went back and forth on whether I wanted the full size or the mini, because some people like really love the mini, but I gotta say I'm really glad I got the large one. Yeah, because the mini just seemed like I can see uses for it in some ways. Yeah, but for this deck, I've kind of view it more as a spell guide, you know, like using it in magic and things like that. Or calling upon certain archetypes for different spell work and things like that. I do use it for divination and for, you know, the self-help sort of readings and things like that, the more psychological readings. So it's pretty versatile in that way. But for me, this feels more of a spell deck. Yeah, and I like the archetypes of it. I like the energy from it, and it pairs well with a lot of different decks that I have. So yeah, I enjoy this so far. Now, I do have the alchemy on my list, and that's one of I just went through my recent wish list. So if you're interested, go check out that video. And the alchemy was on that list. But I feel like that one, if they come out with a mini version, I might actually be interested in the mini version of that one. And that's because that one is like hexagonal shaped, and that might be cool for tableau style reading, and having a hexagonal tableau, and using that deck. And for tableau reading, I really need smaller decks. So I'm kind of wondering if I should hold off on getting the alchemy deck until it comes in a smaller version, because it seems to be that's what Kim Kranz is doing with all of her decks, is creating mini versions of them. And yeah, but I'm really considering that, because I think for the alchemy deck, because of the shape of it, it actually might work better for me in a mini version. So yeah, anyway, this is a really cool, interesting deck. It's one that I feel like, you know, because I haven't used it a whole lot, I'd like to use it more. I think I need to do some sort of like study of it and sort of understand what each of these cards mean for me and how I might use these in spell work or in a reading, because, you know, I do use it in readings and stuff. It's just, and I kind of just use it as an archetype of the reading, you know, and some sort of archetype that I like it for spiritual readings. I do. I like it when conversing with deities, because then it comes out with an archetype of you know, this energy that the deity wants to call attention to or to embrace when I'm communing with them. So, yeah, so I do like it for that. Oh, the Queen. That's a good one to end on. So yeah, I do enjoy these decks. I like the Oracle decks more than I like the Tarot for the Wild Unknown. But yeah, you know, the Wild Unknown Tarot is one that I've kind of just, it never really connected with me, but I do love the Oracle decks. So there we go. So that is the Wild Unknown Archetypes deck. Oh, and by the way, I also like this one because giraffes are my favorite animals. So that was what I chose for this one. All right. So the next one, I think I'm going to do two together here. I have two here. I have the Illuminated Earth Oracle, which was also a deck that one of my subscribers sent to me. And I have the Phenomena Oracle. Now this was, I think both of these kind of got a little bit damaged by that ice. Yeah, I see the edging right here is not as tight as it was. Like everything's fine with it. Like the box, it's, oh, I have a hair stuck on here, but the box itself seems fine. But that seam is a little bit damaged now. And it does feel like there's a certain feel to it that this has. So this one did get, oh yeah, see, here we go. We see some of the water damage here. I might have to keep this separate. Yeah, and that's pretty soft right here. The cards themselves seem totally fine. They were well protected in the box, so that's good. Yeah, but the box did get a little bit damaged, and this was probably one of the bigger damages I experienced here. Yeah, that's a bummer. but the good news is the cards themselves are totally fine, and I'm gonna have that next to the Phenomena Oracle. And this one also got like I keep the little pamphlet for it outside of the box because it gets a little too tight with the pamphlet and the cards in here. But the pamphlet, it is a little bit you can see some damage on it. That kind of sucks, but the cards themselves are totally fine. Let's open this up. Yep, the cards themselves totally fine. No damage whatsoever on these. Yeah, so whew, especially since this, I believe, is now out of print. So yeah, there we go. All right, so, and the box seems fine. So there we go. All right, so yeah, these kind of have a similar, I'm gonna split these just because there's a lot more of this deck of the Illuminated Earth than there are of the Phenomena Oracle, so I'm gonna do that. Yeah, and I think they look good together anyway. So I can't zoom on this. That's right. Okay. So, yeah. So, the decks by Claire Mack have been on my list for quite some time. I have the Rain Shadow. And then last year I did my, wish list, video, and, someone had this deck and wanted, to send it to me. So, of course, I was really grateful for that and was like, absolutely, I would love it. Cause I was going to buy this one along with the Faceted Garden. I was kind of planning on it that month, and then the other creator sent me this, and I was like, oh, perfect. And so now Faceted Garden is on my list for this year. But yeah, and I love the texture of these cards. They're just, I mean, look at this. I love this. There's something about texture in cards that really draws me in, and I feel like I'm part of the card. I feel like I'm part, like, it feels tangible. It feels like something I could touch, you know? I don't know if that makes sense, but that's kind of the feeling that I get from these cards. And I like these kinds of cards much more than I like the ones that have figures and stuff in it. And there's also the ones that have like kind of a whitish background that I'm less interested in, or that may mostly be in the tarot deck instead of the Oracle. I believe that is the case, so that's good. But I like I love texture in the cards. And this one's good too, Disguise. I like that, even though it doesn't quite have that texture, but I like that. Yeah, and then the phenomena. This was right around the time that I backed the what was it called? The cracked amethyst tarot. It was right around the time I backed the cracked amethyst tarot, and I was checking out Jessica Bott's other works, and there were still some copies of this left, and it wasn't very expensive because this is a small deck. It's a small deck. I think there's like 30 cards. Actually, you know what? It's got it in here. So let me check this. There are 32 cards. There are 32 cards. So it is a small little oracle. But that doesn't bother me. I know some people get like, really annoyed with decks that have less than, say, like 40 cards in them. But, it really, as long as there's a purpose, like, it really does not bother me if it's a small deck. Honestly, if I was going to put a number to the smallest oracle deck that I would be comfortable with, probably 25. I think 25 cards is probably where I would say the smallest is. But, but it's also an arbitrary number. And if a deck comes out that has less than that and it makes sense, then it doesn't bother me. So, so it doesn't bother me that there's only 32. I kind of like that. So this deck, there's a lot of big energies with it. It's a phenomena. Like, that's what it's called. It's the phenomena oracle deck. And because of that, because of all the big energies, it does skew kind of negative. So, I mean, some oracle decks skew really positive and very love and light. And, this one kind of skews a bit negative. Now, not every card. There are some cards in here that are, like, more hopeful even. But most of them are, talking about big weather events. So, which makes sense. And, like, crystallize is pretty neutral, I would say. And germinate's pretty positive. But I would say most of these are kind of... negative is a strong word. It's not so much negative. This is also one of the positive ones. It's not so much that it's negative as it is that it's big energies. And because of that, it's been interesting trying to figure out how to use this deck. Here's also another positive one. And Sundog also seems pretty positive. But most of them are just, they're big energies, and it's been interesting trying to figure out how to use this deck, how to incorporate it in my readings, how to interpret these cards, especially predictively, because I like to read predictively. I like to read decks in that more magical sense. I know a lot of us use these decks for self-help, for guidance, very psychologically, and that is the majority of how I use my cards, of course. And when I'm communing with my deities, it is, while I do believe that I'm communicating with my deities, it is also a very psychological practice. And so, yeah, that's there. But, like, I also like to read predictively. I like to read in a very spiritual way, connecting with my spirituality and what I believe in and things like that. So I like when I can use decks in that manner as well. So yeah, anyway, I'm chatting too long about this. But yeah, so this is the Illuminated Earth Oracle along with the Phenomena Oracle, and these are two really good ones. Definitely two decks that I'm really happy to have in my collection. Okay, so the next three are where we're going to see a lot of the water damage. All right, and these are some Japanese decks that I got from Amazon Japan last year. I try to make like one order a year from Amazon Japan because shipping costs so much. I try to order as much as I can in one go to make the shipping worth it, basically. And so I usually only order like once a year from Amazon Japan. So, and these are 3 mini decks. One of them is a continuation of the Dragon Gods cards that I have, the Rujin Kado. I also have in 2024, the other one in that series. Oh, what is it off the top of my head? This one is, I believe, the Shintaku oracle cards, and I think these are messages from the gods. That's how that translates. So Nihon no Shintaku Kado. Yeah. So these. I plan to, well, the booklet is completely in Japanese, and it is vertical, so it is right to left instead of left to right, and that's how Japanese books work. If the words are written horizontally, then it is from left to right. Then the book is left to right. But if it's written vertically, then it's from right to left. And this is written vertically. So, and I love these little books. These are so cool. Anyway, so this is a part of a series of cards that are pretty, decks that are pretty similar. I'm gonna, since these are small, I'm gonna put them up top here. So, and it basically has, I think it's got a little message underneath. So, yeah, and I really like the simplistic artwork here. And you could, of course, use Google Lens in this and to try to figure out what each card is saying, you know, etc. But of course, since I've been learning Japanese for like 3 years now, you know, I can understand some of it. So, oh, is this Mount Fuji? Yeah, this is Fuji-san, I think. Yeah, pretty sure. I'm pretty sure that's what that says. So, yeah, so I really like this series of decks. And I did a whole study on the Rujin Kado, the Dragon God's Oracle cards, and that is on my channel. And it took a few years. It was like a 1.5 year study, I think. So that's on my channel, and I combined it with the Mars Power Tarot, and those two decks just they really spoke to each other, and so they're kind of married in my collection. And I thought for sure that I could use the other two in that same collection to match with the other Six-Eyed Girl decks. And I imagine this one would probably go with the Moon Power. But I don't want to pigeonhole it, so it may not. I just kind of want to see how it goes. But yeah, so I love this. I love these little decks. It's hard to share these though on TarotTube because most people aren't going to have a connection with these decks, and they're in a completely different language. That these decks are not super accessible for people who don't speak Japanese, and I barely do. Yeah, so these decks are definitely studies, but I'd like to use them more, especially this year. All right, so the other two, these ones got really, really damaged. So the cards are fine. So thankfully, the cards are in these hard boxes, and this is like a cardboard that's over top, and it's really stuck. I'm trying to get these out. Oh, okay, there we go. Got them. So these are totally safe. The cards in here are totally, totally safe. Let me get that out of here. So these are totally, totally safe. Yeah. I'm just trying to see if there's any damage on here. I haven't really inspected this, but it's because they were in the hard little plastic boxes, they seem fine. So, these are called the Kumachi oracles. This is the Kumachi oracle love letter, and then this is the regular Kumachi oracle letter. And there's a few others that are kind of in this vein with the same character, Kumachi. And I just thought these were cute. They've got little Japanese phrases on them. Man, these are all messed up though from all these two were the ones that got the brunt of the ice. But thankfully the decks themselves seem fine. So let me get this one out too. And they each have a little extra card in here as well. So let me move the plastic out of the way. I wonder if I can zoom in somehow. So, along the same vein as the other deck, these are completely in Japanese, so there's not a whole lot you're going to be able to glean from these, the general public, and I can barely understand, like, I can kind of understand some of these, but, yeah, some of it, it's like I think I know what that says, but I feel like I gotta look it up first, you know. So it's one of those things that I understand some of the cards, but most of them not yet. But I do understand some of them. So, and some of them are just like little you know, onomatopoeias, you know. So it's just like, that's the right word, right? Or is that, am I using a different word? Anyway, yeah, so they're just like sounds things make, you know, so it's not actually something that's in Japanese. It's just sounds things make, you know. Yeah, but I like these little cards there, and they seem like they would be, I haven't really used them very much, but they seem like they would be really good for little little oracle cards, like little actual oracle cards, like not necessarily you know, self-help psychological stuff, but I mean like actual oracle cards. You know. And oh, yasumi, that means good night, and that makes sense. So it's like you can kind of understand some of the things that's on here. They're very cute. There's others in these collection. These are what the backs look like, so it looks like they're the same. Are they the same? Yeah, so you could mix them all together. These tend to have a bit more of a love vibe to them, whereas these ones are more generic. And I think there's a few others that they have as well. But, and the cardstock on them, they're very, very thin. They're very, very thin. These are very, very thin cardstocks. And I think, how many cards? I don't know if it says on here. I think there's like 50 something cards, maybe more. I'm not sure. So yeah, but they're very cute. I like them. So one more. Aw. All right, so very cute little cards. I am going to have to let these dry more before I try to shove them back on. If not, I am going to have to toss it. This one got the worst. This one is really messed up, but there we go. All right, so the next one. The next one we have is, oh, let me zoom out. There we go. The next one you have here is the True Sight Oracle. And this was the cool bag that I made for. This was the other bag that I made. Yeah, I love this. This turned out so cool. I love the embroidery I went with. This fabric here is like general RPG like tools and stuff, like little adventure tools. It's hard to see. You can kind of, this is bad lighting. There we go. But it's got little tools and stuff, like it's got maps, it's got compasses, and other adventuring. There's like a frog right there. There's potion jars, etc. So very cool. And the inside is actually t-shirt fabric. I got this t-shirt from, I think it was this Kansas City Zoo when I went to visit my dad, and I like my shirts to be a specific style, so I tailored it and cut off a good amount of the fabric and made a bag out of it. So there we go. So that is that. So the True Sight. This is a very versatile deck. It goes with like almost everything, I would say. Unless it has very like so it doesn't go with things that say have kind of a off-white background. It's because this is so white. So if you know, there's some pairing difficulties when you have different colors of whites. You know what I mean? Like you have an off-white or a cream or something that's kind of tan, and then you have something that's stark white like this. And this is stark white and black, stark white and black. So this is a black and white deck, but it's really cool. And I so far have liked using this primarily as spread positions. So this has kind of become a little bit of a spread machine for me. Yeah, and you know, I've used it outside of that. I've used it as just general cards, but I tend to find like when I start using it as its own sort of thing, as its own oracle deck, I often end up just pulling a card for each of the tarot cards that I've pulled. So it still it adds to the spread position, if not creates a whole spread position in and of itself. I don't know if that made sense, but yeah. So that's kind of how I've been using it. Now I do plan to use this in the month of February as with Nightly Reader. So I'm going to use it with the Eldritch Overload, which again has that same sort of vibe, that RPG sort of vibe. This is cool deck. I love it. This one, I think, has a little bit of blue. Now that I'm in a different lighting, yeah, I think that's, so maybe it's not completely black and white. Oh, I'm discovering something new about this deck, even though I've had it for so long. But yeah, that looks like it's an actual color. I think it's blue, huh? Yeah, but I like the keywords. They've got that gaming sort of vibe to it, that kind of RPG game kind of vibe, and it works. It's pretty similar to the Spreadcrafters Oracle Quest Edition. It's got a lot of the same type of cards, and I don't know how those decks would work together. Maybe I could combine it with this one for some sort of reading. That might be something I can experiment with. But yeah, this is a good one. I like it. It's useful, very spread position-y, very much of a spread machine, for me at least. I mean, there are actual spreads in this that you just use this deck for, but I find, like, I think I did one of those, and I ended up bringing in a tarot anyway and just laying these cards down in the spread that was in one of those, and then laying tarot over top each of those cards, because I don't know what it is. I just like it, using it in that way. So, yeah, so that is a True Sight Oracle with the badass bag I made for it. It's one of my favorites. I really like how that one turned out. And now we're going to go from a really good deck to a deck that I'm like, yeah. All right, so the next one is the Sacred Cycles Oracle. There, zoomed in just a little bit there. Yeah, and this one, I don't think it got any damage, but there is a bit of a weird texture right here. Maybe some ice damaged it a little bit. I'm not sure. It seems mostly fine though. I don't see any water damage on it. But seriously though, it was like all the decks were like iced over, all the ones that were over here. So I got this deck because in 2025 I was trying to do a practice around my menstrual cycle. So some sort of card reading practice or divinatory reading practice around my cycle. And I didn't have anything concrete for it. So I didn't have an exact plan of what I wanted to do. And it just ended up being something that just faded out. I only did it for a few months. And I felt like I was forcing myself to do it. And I wasn't feeling very connected to it. And it just didn't work out. I still want to do some sort of practice around my menstrual cycle. I just don't, I guess I don't know where I'm going with it. So then I saw this deck, and there's not a whole lot of different like menstrual themed decks out there, and I was trying to find decks that had a lot of like red in it. The Cursed Auguries was one that I was really like, man, I wish that one wasn't out of print, because because I feel like that was kind of the energy I was going for my menstrual practice there. Now, this deck, though, it's very specifically about, the cycles of female anatomy, and so, menstruation, birth, etc. And I thought maybe I could try this one, and maybe I could figure out how to use it. But this has really fallen flat for me. Like, I like the art in it. I like the style. It does look really good with the Gentle Tarot. But I don't know. I just can't figure out how to use this deck. So it's got different suits and stuff in it. So it's got moon phases. It's got let me actually grab the book here. So it's got different sections. So they have celestial stuff. So that's the moon phases, eclipses, things like that. And there's 13 of those. Then they've got the 4 seasons. They've got 4 cards for the hormonal cycles, so the cycle of menstruation, so menstruation, follicular phase, ovulation, and luteal phase. And then it's got the cycle of life, which I'm not, I really don't like the maiden, mother, crone archetype, so I tend to not be too thrilled with maiden, mother, crone stuff. So that part I was like, about, but for the context of the deck, I guess it makes sense. So I'm not terribly upset with it, but yeah. Anyway, so that was there. Then I had like 4 plants and 4 animals, which I thought was interesting. And then it's got 5 ritual cards. So red tent, bleeding rituals, menarche, menopause, and orgasm. And then they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 physical body cards. So like the cervix, the labia, uterus, clitoris, etc. And I like the idea of this. I cannot figure out how to use this deck other than pulling out specific cards. So like pulling out the first quarter moon card when it's the first quarter moon, or pulling out the 4 moon phase cards for a moon phase reading. But like then I just kind of don't quite understand the rest, and especially the 4 plants and 4 animals cards. So it's just, I don't know. I'm very up in the air about this deck. I don't quite understand how to use it. Yeah. So I think that's where I'm at with it. I kind of like it. Like, I like the art in it. I kind of like the cardstock. It's kind of got a papery quality to it, but it doesn't feel cheap. So, I like the cardstock. I like the feel of this deck. I just don't know how to use it. And, in my menstrual practice kind of went off on the wayside. It just didn't pan out. So I don't know what I'm going to do with this. I want to keep it. And I want to use it. I just don't know how. So if you guys have any ideas, let me know down in the comments. All right, so we've got a few more here. So I'm going to bring out these 2 smaller decks here. So we have the Amethyst Oracle. I keep it in this little mesh baggie here. Yeah, and this is a little mini, so I'll have to bring down the camera here. Let me actually physically move the camera. All right, so I love this little deck. And this is really good for tableau readings. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Maybe I've zoomed in a little bit too far for a 9 card box here. Yeah, and I love this little deck. Yeah, I did zoom in a little too far. Let me zoom out just a little bit. There we go. Yeah, so I love this little deck. It does such a good job. It's kind of that Oracle deck, that type of Oracle deck that I've really been drawn to lately, which is just a these are kind of a mix of titles and keywords, but they're more keyword-y. But, spring is a title. So, like, the difference between a title versus a keyword. So, like, things like autumn, which are more general concepts. Energy is another one that I would say is a title. Versus, say, overwhelm right here. Overwhelm would be a keyword to me. So there's a bit of a mix going on with that. Lava Lamp is a title, and I prefer titles over keywords, because to me that opens up the intuition on what I can interpret Lava Lamp to mean to me. Like, I don't need to be shown. Like, for this one, I would prefer it to just be called wave, a wave. Or something like that, yeah. but that's just a personal thing. But I love the simple imagery of this. It's really good for just adding a little bit of added information, added context. This deck, it works very well as its own tableau reader, but it also does a really good job adding a little bit of a little bit of energy to a spread that's already laid out. So a spread of tarot cards and then laying over one of these cards on top to just kind of add some more detail to the reading. So definitely a big fan of these. And then the other video I had on this had the Idiosyncra deck mini along with the Cracked Amethyst, because I got the three of them together in the Kickstarter. All right, so that's that one. Let me move this out of the way. And the other mini one from over there, which isn't really mini, but the other one was a Lenormand deck. This is the Patrick Valenza Lenormand de la Luna, and this is gorgeous. So I've laid out a little 6 card for this here, but yeah, so this this was totally protected. There's a little bit of texture issue right here from the ice, but this deck was totally protected in this tin. And it's got a little pamphlet here. Yeah, I'm not going to pull it out all the way. It's just a fold up little pamphlet, and it's okay. You know, I don't know exactly. I have not referred to this little pamphlet at all, but I leave it here with it. Let me close that up. And this is a beautiful little Lenormand deck. Yeah, and I've been really enjoying Patrick Valenza's work. I've never gotten into the Deviant Moon Tarot, so I don't have any of his tarots. And at this point, I may at some point get the Deviant Moon Tarot. It's just never called to me. I've just never been interested in it. But I absolutely love his other oracle works, and his other oracle cards are just, fantastic. They're bizarre and creepy and all of that, and I love it. And this is an excellent little Lenormand, and it's really nice with... there's the Mildred Payne. I was kind of using this as houses, and then using Mildred Payne over top, and that worked pretty good too. Yeah. Oh, and while I have this out here, I'll grab the other deck that I actually got in 2025 that I didn't have in any of these collections, and it's because it's a playing card deck. Here we are. It's the Unhistorical Playing Cards by Patrick Valenza, and there were only a few copies of these left when I got that. And I guess I'll pull this out too, because I did get this in 2025. Ooh, this does not want to open. There we go. So I got this in 2025 too, but I didn't add playing cards to my list of oracles. But yeah, and these got these sharp corners, so they're not rounded. It's really nice. It doesn't quite work for the way that I have been experimenting with playing cards. I'm still trying to figure out how to use playing cards for my personal reading style. So because it doesn't say what each card is in the corners, because the way I read or have been reading playing cards is I've been laying them out like this, waterfall style. Sorry, I'm over top the other reading and doing it like that. And because of this, you can't tell what each of these cards are without picking them up. So that's really the only negative I've had about this is that I just have to use a different style of playing card reading with this instead of doing it in the waterfall style like that. And perhaps this would do better for tableau style. Yeah, but it is really cool. I love Patrick Valenza's art. There's not much else I can really say about it. So those are the 2 Patrick Valenza decks that I got, and one of the playing cards that I don't usually discuss in here. I think at some point, especially when my playing card collection grows a bit more, I might do a video of all the playing card decks that I have that I specifically have for divination. And also, I'm still trying to figure out my style of reading with playing cards. Okay, so we are on the final deck. Woo! All right, and that is the Somnia Oracle. So it says Somnia Tarot right here, but this is the Oracle. So yeah, if you watched the other video, I also got the Somnia Tarot. I got these for Christmas from my husband, and thankfully this was not in. This was down in my art studio because I'm picking out fabric and stuff for the for these decks, for the Somnia Tarot and the Somnia Oracle. So I had both of them down in my art studio when this whole snow ice fiasco happened, which I'm so grateful for, because I fear that this one would have been damaged. Yeah, so I'm so glad this did not get water damage on it at all. So there we go. It's totally safe. All right, so yeah, so this is a cool deck. The Somnia Tarot and Oracle, well, mostly the Tarot, they've been on my list for a few years now, the Tarot specifically. And then the Oracle came out, and then they redid the Tarot. And at first I was not wanting to get the new version of the Tarot, because I was like, you got rid of the borders? Because, some decks do very well with the borders, and some, I would prefer them without borders, etc. But the Somnia Tarot was one of those that I actually thought the borders kind of added to the cards. So I was kind of disappointed that it came out with a borderless version, along with the Oracle, which was borderless, which I'm fine with. But the more walkthroughs I was seeing of the decks, the more I actually came around to the borderless version of the Tarot. So, and yeah, so I put both on my wish list for Christmas, and my husband very graciously got me both decks. And I'm really happy about it. Now, the thing is with this deck, I mean, it's incredibly evocative, incredibly deep. There's some strong energies with this. So it's something that I feel, just like with the Phenomena Oracle, kind of skews a bit negative. And negative isn't really, because negative isn't quite the right word. It's big energies. It's big feelings, and this is definitely an emotional kind of deck, because these were, if I recall the history of these decks, of the Somnia Tarot and Oracle, the creator suffered from insomnia, and the Tarot deck was kind of a representation of that for him. And I may be wrong a little bit, but that's, I believe, what the story is behind these. Ooh, this is creepy as hell. Oh my God, look at this card. The Presence. Ooh, that gave me some chills. Wow. Okay. I've only used this deck a couple times, so I'm definitely not familiar with every single card in this deck yet. And these are, of course, photography decks. But, man, are they, like, deep and kind of spooky, kind of creepy, and I like them a lot. I am not sure what the right kind of readings are for these decks. I'm so glad I have them in my collection. I did use them as a nightly reader, oddly enough, right after I got them. And, yeah, the energies of this deck, they're a bit too much for a nightly reader, because they are big energies. I feel like this is the kind of deck that you really only use sometimes, and it's like big feelings kind of, but I still want to try to keep it in my rotation so that I familiarize myself with these cards. Yeah, but it definitely has some big energies. Maybe it has maybe new moon vibes, or maybe third quarter moon vibes. I don't know. I do like using my cards more in, even though most of my readings are, psychologically based, of course, I tend to prefer to use my cards, or I tend to read more in spiritual aspects. And I'm just trying to connect this with that, because I feel like this is not an ancestor deck. No, it doesn't feel like an ancestor deck to me. But it does feel very otherworldly. Very much like these are beings from like a different plane of existence, if that makes sense. So in a weird way, it does actually give me a fairy vibe. More of the darker aspects of that. Yeah, I don't know. It's super dark and evocative, and definitely gives me the chills sometimes. Just some of these images. But yeah, so that is the Somnia Oracle, and that is the last one that I got for 2025. All right, so there we go. That's everything I got for 2025. Thank you so much for watching, everyone, and I will, let me get this in here, see you next time. Bye!